Evans tries an O-level, Part 3. Before getting into the story, we shall see the purpose of today's lesson. So, by the end of the lesson, you will be able to explain the acts that helped Evans to escape from the prison. Describe how the governor has found exactly where Evans will go. Discuss the conversation that happened between Evans and Governor in the hotel room. And explain how Evans finally escaped. Evans tries an O-level, Part 3. In the last part of the story, we saw about the incidents that happened inside the prison cell till the completion of the examination. 2 phone calls that the governor had received in quick succession, and negligence on the part of the prison staff that helped Evans to escape. After Carter and McCleary left the prison, the governor turned to Jackson and Stevens. His voice sounded almost calm in its scathing contempt.
I don't need to tell you what's happened, do I? And which one of you 2 morons was it who took Evans for a nice little walk to the main gates and waved him bye-bye?
It was me, sir. Just like you told me, sir. I have done.
What? Just like I told you, you say? What the hell?
When you rang, you told me, sir.
When was that?
You know, sir. Just before 11:20, you asked me to accompany McCleary to the main prison gates.
You blithering idiot, man. It wasn't me who rang you. Don't you realize?
If it wasn't the governor, then who called Stevens, in the governor's voice? Let us find this out later. For now, let's get back to the scene.
As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you've got a brain, eh? Well, I'll tell you something, Jackson. Your skull's empty. Empty.
Evans tries an O-level, Part 3. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans's cell the previous evening, and it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away there, nothing at all. And yet, Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia, but also some sort of weapon with which he'd given McCleary such a terrible blow across the head. He looked down again at the last line of the German.
To the Headington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to New Graben. New Graben? Where on earth is it? New something. New grave? Never heard of it. There was a war grave. No, it was probably a code word. Newbury. God, yes. Newbury was a pretty big sort of place. St. Aldate's police station, and step on it. Take Jackson and Stevens here, and when you get there, ask for Bill. Chief Inspector Bill. Got that?
We'll get him, sir.
We'll get him with a bit of luck. Ye gods. What a beautifully laid plan it had all been. What a clever fellow Evans was. Careless leaving that question paper behind. But then, they all made their mistakes, somewhere along the line. Well, almost all of them. And that's why very shortly, Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more.
Superintendent Carter informed him that McCleary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way. They'd got the number of the car all right, and had given chase immediately, but had lost him at the Headington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city.
No, he's on his way to Newbury. By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McCleary to the hospital all right?
Yes. He is in the Radcliffe now. Groggy. He was when we got to the examination offices, and they rang for the ambulance from there.
It's time for an important question. The governor rang the Radcliffe a few minutes later, and asked about McCleary, from the accident department.
McCleary, you say?
Yes. He's a parson.
Oh, that. Yes, we sent an ambulance all right, but when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was. Just vanished.
The truth seemed to hit Governor, with an almost physical impact, somewhere in the back of his neck. A quarter of an hour later, they found the Reverend S. McCleary, securely bound and gagged in his study in Broad Street. Inquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing. Nothing at all. A smart new hat concealed the wreckage of his closely cropped hair, and he kept it on as he walked up to the reception desk of the Golden Lion. A bit of bad luck, that, when Jackson had pinched his scissors, for it had meant a long and tricky operation with his only razor blade, the previous night. But he'd had his good luck, too. Just think. If Jackson had made him take his bobble hat off. Phew. The receptionist wasn't the same girl who'd booked him in, but the change was definitely for the better. As he collected his key, he gave her his best smile. He whistled softly to himself as he walked up. He'd sort of liked the idea of being dressed up as a minister, dog collar and everything. Yes, it had been a jolly good idea for McCleary to wear 2 black fronts, 2 collars. But that top collar, it had kept on slipping off the back stud, and there'd been that one panicky moment when McCleary had only just got his hand up to his neck in time to stop the collars springing apart before Stevens. They'd got that little problem worked out all right, though, a pen stuck in the mouth whenever the evil eye had appeared at the peephole. Easy. But all that fiddling about under the blanket with the black front and the stud at the back of the collar, that had been far more difficult than they'd ever bargained for. Everything else had gone beautifully smoothly. However, in the car, he'd found everything they'd promised him: soap and water, clothes, the map. Yes, the map, of course. The Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. He'd got some good friends, some very clever friends. Christ, He unlocked his bedroom door, and closed it quietly behind him, and then stood frozen to the spot, like a man who has just caught a glimpse of the Gorgon. Sitting on the narrow bed was the very last man in the world that Evans had expected or wanted to see.
It's not worth trying anything. I've got men all around the place. Women, too. Didn't you think the blonde girl in reception was rather sweet?
It was that bloody correction slip, I suppose?
Well, there are a few people who know a little German.
You know. It wasn't a mistake. You see, we hadn't been able to fix up any hotel. But we could have worked that some other way. No. The really important thing was for the phone to ring just before the exam finished to get everyone out of the way for a couple of minutes. So we had to know exactly when the exam started. Didn't we?
And, like a fool, I presented you with that little piece of information on a plate.
Well, somebody did. So, you see, sir, that correction slip killed 2 little birds with a single stone, didn't it? The name of the hotel for me. And the exact time the exam started.
It's a pretty common word.
Good job, it is pretty common, sir. Or I'd never have known where to come to. Would I?
Nice name, though, Zoom Golden and Lowen.
How did you know which Golden Lion it was? There are hundreds of them.
Same as you, Evans. Index number 313, Centra number 271. Remember? 6 figures? And if you take an Ordnance Survey map for Oxfordshire, you find that the 6-figure reference, 313 and 271, lands you bang in the middle of Chipping Norton.
It's time for an important question.
Yay, you're right. We'd hoped you'd run off to Newbury.
We did.
Well, that's something, I suppose.
That question paper, Evans. Could you understand all that German? I could hardly.
Nah. Course I couldn't. I knew roughly what it was all about, but we just hoped it would throw a few spanners in the works, you know. Sort of muddle everybody a bit.
Tell me one thing before we go. How on earth did you get all that blood to pour over the head?
Clever, sir. Very clever. That was how to get a couple of pints of blood into a cell with the invigilator when he will be searched before he comes in. Yes, sir. You can well ask about that. And I don't know if I ought to tell you. After all, I might want to use that in particular.
Anything to do with a little rubber ring for piles, perhaps?
Clever, though. Wasn't it? Nah. It's the clotting, you see. That's big trouble. We got the blood easy enough. Pig's blood, it was from the slaughterhouse in Kidlington. But to stop it clotting, you've got to mix your actual blood with 1/10 of its volume of 3.8% trisodium citrate. Didn't know that, did you, sir?
We learn something new every day, they tell me. Come on, my lad. Tell me, Evans. How did you manage to plan all this business? You've had no visitors, I've seen to that. You've had no letters. I've got lots of friends, however.
What's that supposed to mean?
The German teacher, for a start. You mean? But he was from the technical college.
Was he? Ever check up on him, sir?
God almighty. There's far more going on than, I think.
Always will be, sir.
Everything ready?
The van's out the front, sir.
A silent prison officer handcuffed the recaptured Evans, and together the two men clambered awkwardly into the back seat of the prison van.
See you soon, Evans.
Cheerio, sir. I was just wondering. I know your German's pretty good, sir. But do you know any more of these modern languages?
Not very well. Why?
Nothing, really. I just happened to notice. You've got some O-level Italian classes coming up next September. That's all.
Perhaps you won't be with us next September, Evans.
No. Perhaps I won't. For Christ's sake, get a move on. It won't take them long to find out.
Where do you suggest we make for?
What about Newbury?
It's time for an important question. Conclusion. At last, Evans was able to escape once again, with the help of his friends, who were now pretending to be the prison officer and the driver. What a brilliant guy Evans is. That's it. The story has ended. Hope you all enjoyed. Before winding up, let us see the explanation and meaning of some hard words we have crossed today. Moron means fool. Blithering means utter, complete. Conceal means to hide. Step on it means to press accelerator fully or to be very quick. Groggy means weak. Vanished means disappeared. Gag means to stop from speaking. Pinched means took away. Panicky moment means anxious situation. Springing apart means jumping apart. Bargained for means imagined. Bang in the middle of means exactly in the middle of. To throw a spanner means to divert attention. Slaughter's house means the place where animals are killed. Reluctant means unwilling. Admiration means appreciation. And clambered means climbed. Summary. In this lesson, you have learnt about the acts that helped Evans to escape from the prison, seen how Governor found exactly where Evans will go, the conversation that happened between Evans and Governor in the hotel room, and how Evans finally escaped.